The word paraphrase is a Greek word paraphasis, and there's a whole history behind that. And translation means to take out of the Latin, translatio, to bring out of Latin into a modern language. And they're very different. Let's talk about that for a while. There's different kinds of translations, and they all differ from a paraphrase. And one of the critiques we get of the Passion Translation is that, this is a paraphrase. Well, Eugene Peterson did a great paraphrase. It's called the Message Bible.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the Living Bible era back in the day, so I remember when that came out.
Which got modified to become the New Living Translation.
When they actually looked at the original languages.
Which happens to be quite a dynamic, on the edge of, or perhaps even a paraphrase itself.
Yeah, it's very close to that.
But it's called a translation.
Yeah, there's a continuum. Why don't you say a little bit about the different kinds of translations and how they differ from a paraphrase? And a lot of English speakers don't learn foreign languages because English is so dominant. You really don't have to. You can go anywhere in the world, you get by with English. And when you're backpacking in Europe, you use what they call Taizé or youth hostel English, which is real basic. You get along just fine. So a lot of English speakers don't take the trouble to understand that languages aren't that parallel.
Not at all. And, if you were to chart it out, okay, you'd have on one extreme, you would have a lexicon, which is just an attempt at a word for word, which is a little bit, it's a noble pursuit to have a word in English for every Hebrew word or every Greek word. But there are concepts, and there's a universe of meaning behind every Greek word and every Hebrew word that may not correspond to an identical universe of meaning to an English word. So you got that on one extreme, and then of course on the other side you would have the more elastic paraphrase, the cotton patch version, using slang.
The Klingon version.
Klingon. I'm told there's even an emoji version, emoji Bible, where they've tried to use emojis to express, which would be cute. But the Passion Translation is called a translation because it is a Bible translation. And we have resisted the negative connotation that has developed in the last 25, 30 years to the word paraphrase. If you go back 40, 50, 60, 80 years, the day of Moffat and Phillips, and you have these wonderful translations that broke the mold. They were not in King James language. They were more expressive. They began to use, like Moffat uses the word bliss. I call him the more fat version, Moffat. But he used words like bliss and different words that express something. They bring an image. They trigger something when you hear it, rather than he brought me joy or he brought me delight, which he does, but he brought bliss, like the Garden of Eden was the Garden of Bliss. Well, things like that. So the hyper literal versions obviously have to cut out some of the meaning of Hebrew, Greek words and phrases in order to fit into a mold of the aspiration to do a word-for-word translation. It's a noble desire, but it is a myth. There's really no such thing as a word-for-word translation.
No.
It can't be done.